Democratic Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari of Arizona. She is a member of the House Oversight Committee. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Congresswoman, it is good to see you, and we are not accustomed to all that ambient noise coming from the Capitol, given that your Republican colleagues have been MIA for weeks at a time. It is good to see you there. Talk to me about this discharge petition. There's now reporting that the Speaker is going to bring the Epstein bill to a vote next week. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, so first of all, it's great to have our Republican colleagues back in Washington, D.C., working, voting, getting back to committee finally. But yeah, the discharge petition got its 218th signature just right after Adelita Grijalva was finally sworn in this afternoon after she broke a record because of Mike Johnson's obstruction of justice and refusing to swear her in. There have been reports now that Speaker Johnson has indicated that he does want to bring this to a vote next week. I will admit to you, I'm very surprised to hear that after he has spent months on end doing everything he can to shut down conversation about this. He even shut down the House of Representatives back in July, but could be that they want to stop talking about this. And the truth of the matter is that, first of all, it's great that this will come to a vote because I want to see every Republican member of Congress on the record saying, do they support pedophiles and rich and powerful men who perpetrated or enabled Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, or do they support accountability? But ultimately, all of this will go back to the White House. Is it the Trump White House and the Department of Justice? Are they going to actually comply? Because they haven't been complying with the subpoena that they already have from the Oversight Committee, and they've been slow rolling or outright refusing to release essential documentation and the full file. So it's a great step and an important step towards accountability, but ultimately this all goes back to Donald Trump himself and what he is willing to do.
Congressman, ironically, the White House is waving this flag of transparency today. The White House press secretary had this to say about transparency. I want to get your reaction to the other side.
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency? Doesn't that show the level of transparency when we are willing to sit down with members of Congress and address their concerns?
Congresswoman, you're on the House Oversight Committee. You've been involved in a lot of investigations regarding the Trump administration. Have they been willing to sit down and meet with you at any time in a transparent manner whenever you had a question that perhaps they could answer?
Yeah, that clip was hilarious. I had not seen that until now. But as always, Caroline and the administration, they are pathological liars. And there are many things that I would love to sit down with them that I have questions about when it comes to transparency. I could rattle off a list to you. But no, that's not the case. The only time that I am aware of that the administration has reached out and been proactive with members of Congress, obviously it's on the Republican side, but typically it's to threaten them. And I know you all discussed this a little bit before, but that is exactly what they were doing today. There was an outright all-out, campaign for months now to try to convince the 4 members of Congress who have been signed on to the discharge petition to get themselves off of that. That is what all of this has been about, and that's why I've always said Mike Johnson is complicit and enabling and actively participating in the Trump White House cover-up of the Epstein files, because he's been delaying Adelita swearing in until today, until she's finally a congresswoman. He's been trying to get these folks off of the discharge petition. He also doesn't want us to discuss this matter in any other committee. I sat with him in the room with the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, where he promised them accountability, he feigned empathy, and then when we suggested potentially talking about this in the Financial Services Committee, for example, because of the financial institutions that have been involved in the enabling of these crimes, he shut that down immediately. So we know that his allegiance is to the White House, to Donald Trump, and to this cover-up.
Congresswoman, there are just a lot of questions that the president's outreach today, or last night, and his allies' outreach today, and his staff have raised for me. It is very unusual for the President of the United States to be so engaged, particularly on a discharge petition about releasing files that related to again, pedophilia, sex trafficking of minors, especially for somebody that claimed that they are all about transparency, that they want to get to the bottom of this. Why do you think the president cares so much about this? Why do you think that they had Lauren Boebert in the Situation Room today and not the Roosevelt Room or any other room that wasn't a secure SCIF? Why do you think who is the president covering up for? Or the DOJ or the FBI? Why? Who? What? What do you think? Because I have questions.
Well, the 23,000 pages of documents that came out today that were from the Epstein estate as part of the oversight Democrat subpoena make very clear, if anyone had any doubt prior to this, that Donald Trump himself was very well aware of what Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were up to when it came to their massive and unprecedented child sex trafficking operation, the abuse of girls and young women. The emails that were released today made painfully clear that Donald Trump spent time with some of these victims. There were lines in these emails, quote unquote, Trump was the dog that didn't bark. I mean, these are damning. And this is, I think, the tip of the iceberg. We don't have really any of the information, and that's why we continue to demand that the Department of Justice comply with this subpoena that they have to legally comply with, to release the full files immediately. If Donald Trump is so concerned about this, then he should release the files. But he is spending all of his precious time when he should be engaged in matters such as protecting health care for Americans, such as making sure that SNAP assistance gets out to 42 million Americans. No, instead he has been focused on his priority, his $350 million ballroom, and ensuring that he protects himself and the rich and powerful men and the allies in the Epstein files. This is egregious. This is a cover-up, and Donald Trump is absolutely a part of it.